All right, there we go. Welcome everybody into the King's Pit Pass podcast. I am your host Jorge, and this is Josh. What?
What up?
You just got done racing at Daytona, picking up a fourth place finish. Nicely done,
Yeah,
sir.
appreciate it. Yeah, easily best finish of the season for me for sure.
Yeah, it
Just
especially
took
has
us
to.
struggle bus.
Yeah, especially has to feel good picking up after not making the show last week at Dover.
100%. Feels good to have two of the team in the top 10 also. That was much needed for us as a team and hopefully gets us on track.
Yeah, definitely. And then hopefully maybe next week at Bristol, everybody can make the show. Because I know in the
Yeah.
broadcast you said two of you that didn't make it made the show. One that made it last week didn't make it this week. So
Yeah.
hopefully we
Yeah.
can get everybody in at Bristol next week,
Yep. We're
which should
getting
be a
there.
good one. So
We're,
I know everybody's working hard on the team. So
we're getting there
definitely
for
not a
sure.
lack of effort.
Yep.
But we are going to be talking today about penalties and how it can affect a season, as well as how should a league implement a penalty system. We know we both run in different leagues. There's different penalty systems that for each, and we'll kind of go over on what we think kind of works and what doesn't work and what kind of should happen and not happen. But before we get into that, let's recap top tier season or season 2, race 3 and 4. Um, Honestly, race 3 is a little fuzzy for me. I was very sick. That's why we didn't have the podcast, and it wasn't a broadcast really. It was more just to show everybody. But it was at Dover. Peyton Howell did win, picking up his third win in a row. Got anything for race number 3?
No, I mean I didn't make the show. I watched it. Uh it was clean race as far as cautions. Um, that's all I really got. I don't know if it's 100% devoted to the less car count, obviously, that they implemented before race 3, but it was promising to see a clean race as far as cautions go and some really good racing there and pit strategies being able to play out and uh, people break down their different strategies and things like that. I mean, Peyton was dominating first 3 weeks. Had the truck out front tonight too for a while, back and forth, kind of like everybody. I feel like, but yeah. So we had our first new winner tonight. So
Yep, Dylan
congrats
Canova.
to congrats to Dylan Canova. Avoided the wreck there, and then crossed the finish line as the first one to do it the proper way. And got rewarded for it.
Yep.
So that was cool to see. Jake Raven, friend of ours and really solid dude. Cool to see him finish second. Um, and a couple different people up there in the top. There were a couple wrecks up front that caused people to use their fast repairs early, and then another one ensued and took out a couple of the top 15. I don't know exactly in my mind where they're at right offhand, but depending on some other things, we could see some jockeying in position in the top 15. Maybe a couple other people lock in. Maybe a couple people drop out. It's going to be interesting. That's definitely um, an exciting and interesting part of any league that has any sort of like lock-in process, whether it be 15, 20, whatever. Um, and definitely changes your mindset because if you're outside of that 15, I mean, the stress that just alone going into trying to set a hot lap and
Oh
then
yeah.
you work all the way up to that point, right? Who knows how long everybody practices, but I mean, for me, for Dover, it was a lot. It was hours of like, okay, long run, then back to trying qualifying and see what I can do. Um, and it definitely adds an extra bit of pressure. You got to make sure you practice both, racing type practice as well as hot laps. And it can change the game for people that don't necessarily qualify that well, but have managed to get a couple finishes early in a good position. So we'll see what happens.
Oh yeah, definitely. And that's one thing. If for me, I'm not a strong qualifier. Never have been. Never will be. Um, I'd be stressing every week to try to make the show. I don't know how you guys do it. I mean, you put in the work, to make the good lap, and I can run it in practice, but once it actually comes down to qualifying, it's a totally different animal. Knowing that those are your 2 laps and you can't make any mistakes, and it's extremely difficult. And I give everybody credit that's not locked in the top 15 to do that and go out there and make the show essentially. So my
Yeah,
hats off to all of you guys that are doing that, and hopefully, some royalty guys do get into the top 15, so we don't, they're locked in. There's no more stressing.
yeah. Hopefully we'll do that. I've always been a racer that is not going to necessarily be top 5 in qualifying. I wouldn't say I'm a bad qualifier per se, but I'm someone who will kind of figure it out. I'm learning to save tires. I've been extremely committed to that.
Yeah.
So then having to kind of change the mindset and think, okay, I have to qualify well enough to make this race versus, hey, you know what? If I start dead last, it's a blessing and a curse, right? I could avoid some trouble. I can kind of see what other strategies are happening, and kind of go with which one I want to follow, maybe, and then just slowly but surely, work up due to that tire saving. And uh, there is that added pressure to the last couple races of like, well, it doesn't matter what kind of tire saving I can do or maneuvering or strategies if I don't make this race.
Yeah.
So it is it's different for sure.
Yeah, definitely. But the thing is, Josh, you've always been a good qualifier. You're always usually in the top 10 anyways, so you gotta believe in
Appreciate
yourself,
that.
man. You gotta believe in yourself. And I mean, honestly, you definitely are probably one of the best qualifiers on the team
I
at Royalty
appreciate that,
Motors.
man.
So that's definitely one thing that you kind of got to get out of your head, just like the tire saving thing. Just let it come
Yeah,
naturally to you, and I know you can do it. Just as
yeah, for
anybody on the
sure.
team too. Anybody on the team. They're all good guys. They're all good racers, and I just know that they need to kind of get out of their head. We've all
Yeah.
been there, all have done it. But
Yep.
if they get out of their
Yep.
head, I know they can easily make the shows. And I know next week is going to be, another tough one at Bristol, where times are going to be tough, and it's going to be
Yep.
close. So I know there's gonna be a lot of prep work for everybody.
Yeah,
Um,
for sure.
but yeah, so Daytona happened, got a new winner. Now 2 drivers are locked in, Peyton Howell doing Canova. And I want to
Yeah.
mention Peyton Howell too on that is that he restarted that last green white checker in 17th.
Hmm.
And he made his way up to the front where he had a shot to win it. That
Yeah.
just shows you the quality of driver that he is to be able to make it that far up. I mean, that's pretty darn impressive.
Yeah. He made some moves.
So, but either ways, um, we were supposed to do this last week with this topic as well as recapping the elimination race at the Roval
Yeah.
at Charlotte. Um, we've now know some cause and effect that happened from it. Um, Joey Logano is now technically in the championship four due to a penalty of Alex Bowman that happened at the Roval. Because
Yeah.
without that penalty,
Yeah.
the win, okay, he would have won, but it wouldn't have put him in anywhere. He still would
Right.
have been eliminated. But now he's in the championship four here at Phoenix.
Yeah.
And it's an even year. I really hope he doesn't win the championship. That's just me personally. I'm not a Logano fan. But because of that penalty to Bowman, it lifts Logano in there.
Hmm.
Do you know exactly what the penalty was for Bowman, like why he got it?
Yeah. Yeah. He was underweight. So too light, and they gave him several chances. Uh, they backed him off the scale, let him fuel the car, let him, I believe, even make sure the water was full because they were allowed to have water in the car.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and they did everything possible to help him out and be like, hey man, try not to just, pull the string and say, oh well, that's that. Put him back on the scales same result. And I think it's 17 pounds you're allowed to be within.
Yeah.
Which is, I don't know the percentage, but he was outside of the 17 pounds and the percentage that you're allowed. And I mean, you can tell that it was legit because there wasn't even an appeal by Hendrick Motorsports and the Bowman team. They basically just ate it and they said, yeah, well, that's what happened. And that is a massive penalty. I mean, you talk going final 7, 8. Sorry, top tier was 7 last year. You talk about going from being in the final 8 and having a chance at a championship to now your season is done because of underweight penalty. I mean, I think it's crazy. I don't understand all the specifics, how that works, what they weigh before and, determine all that stuff. I'd be speaking in a way that would not be very educated if I was to elaborate on anything like that, because I just don't know. But massive penalty, crazy.
Yeah, it is. It really is. And it also puts Hendrick, I mean, it's not a disadvantage. Hendrick's obviously one of the strongest teams out there, but they would have had 4 of the 8 in the round of 8, which, I mean, is impressive as it can be. Obviously, now they only have the 3, but to still have 4.
Incredible.
Yeah. I mean, it's not looking too good for Chase right now. He's not doing so hot. I mean, it kind of, if points play out, it pretty much solidifies everybody is in the championship 4. It's going to be Larson, Byron, and Reddick. And unfortunately, Logano is going to be your championship 4, barring one of the other ones that are on the outside looking in, get a win. But again, that penalty that happened to Bowman gave life to the 22, and I had a feeling they're going to Vegas. He does well there. Sure enough, he gets the win, and he's in the championship 4. So it literally gave new life to the 22, and it killed completely the 48s.
Oh, wild. Yeah. I mean, for him to just get in, one of our teammates said that's such a Joey Logano thing to do.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, it really is.
And then for him to, luck out and get in based off that, and then be like, hey, you know what? People are saying I don't deserve to be here, and I don't, because it was on a penalty. And then go out there and win the race, the very next race. It wasn't like, oh, now he's struggling to get into the championship 4, kind of flirting with the line. He just said, I'm going to take it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just going to solidify it, and show you guys that I do belong here. And I mean, that's racing, right? There's so many variables and stars, if you will, that have to align for things to go your way. And when they don't, I mean, you see it, the repercussions of Bowman being out. That sucks for Bowman. I'm a Hendrick fan, not the biggest Logano fan, but I mean, he, like you said, he took every single opportunity, and made it an advantage, got in and locked himself in now.
Yeah.
Pretty cool.
Yeah, it is. And from what chat was saying is that he was 19 pounds too light instead of the 17. So it's literally 2 pounds. Literally absolutely nothing.
Yeah. 2 pounds. That's pretty crazy.
That's insane. 2 pounds goes from whether you're in the round of 8 to out of it. And then, here we are now with talking with Logano again with another chance to win another championship here at Phoenix. Yeah. Sorry, I am not a huge Logano fan. I can't stand Logano. Never been one.
Yeah.
It is what it is. But, I mean, those penalties do happen, and it does, propel people into the next round. I mean, that happened with you in Top Tier last year at Talladega.
It absolutely did. Yep.
It was unfortunate. It was on Jim Thorndike. I mean, there's nobody in Top Tier, that I have ill will against or anything, but it was just, it came down, I think we were coming down to the white flag, and he just got into the back of you, oddly enough, caused the caution, which caused him to get the penalty points and propel you into the next round and knock himself out, which was kind of ironic in a sense.
Yeah, and what's crazy about that, I was running pretty well, I remember, right? Trying to squeak in. It came down to like a matter of positions between me and a couple of the other guys that had a chance to get in. And when he spun me, obviously nothing intentional. Like he
No,
apologized
no,
right
yeah, it wasn't.
away,
It
and
was just a bad
so
bump.
I don't mean when he spun me
Yeah,
in that way. But when that happened, Uh, I didn't know that it was him, right? So I'm mad because I got spun and I got basically taken out of a position to make the playoffs
yeah,
or continue on in the playoffs when the whole race I was like I feel great about this. I'm in a good spot. People can say what they want about super speedway racing being easy. It's not. It's a different skill set. Um, the nerves are different when it's close racing like that the whole time.
oh yeah,
You have to take advantage of situations that happen in split seconds, and
yeah,
it could go right or it could go wrong. But anyway, then after the race, I found out it was him. I think you told me,
it was me.
and I was like, "Oh, so okay, he might get a penalty because it brought out the yellow
Hmm.
for a green white checkered," and I was like, "Oh man, okay." And so like that night, I'm like sitting there and I didn't know. And then I found out like right before I went to bed, I was like, "Yes, final 7, let's go." And I didn't know what I was capable of at the next tracks, but just to get to that point when it was like, "Hey, you know what? I won Daytona." People say what they want about someone winning Daytona. But it was a really good season, and I didn't want it to end. And it's crazy that it continued based off a penalty, kind of like Logano's. I unfortunately did not go on to win the next race, and I didn't win the championship. But you know, hey, it was cool to say I was a part of the final 7
Yeah,
in season 1 of Top Tier, and um, it's a matter of inches and
yeah,
matter of thousandths of a second sometime that causes the wreck or doesn't, and eh, benefited me that one time. That's the
yeah.
one time that I'll
It
say a
didn't matter.
wreck probably benefited me.
Yeah,
But
it did. I mean, you're still going for the lead. That's the thing, is that you were going for the lead. You had Jacob Wilson on your inside. Oh no, you had Brady Floyd on your inside with Wilson and Howe right behind him, and then it was you, Thorndike, and then myself. I was a lap down. I was back there pushing you guys on the high side.
yeah,
Thankfully, I didn't push Jim at that time into you, because then it would have been my fault, and then that penalty never would have happened.
yeah,
But either ways, yes, you did make the next round, um, which then, you know, I'm just gonna say, for the sake of what penalties are, unfortunately, you had a rough race, and all your penalties added up at that next race, which then prevented you from getting into the championship four. So penalties helped
yeah,
you, and then it hurt you a lot,
100%,
unfortunately. So
100%. Yep.
So nothing, not to bring it up and everything, but it's just
No, I mean
showing that
it's the
penalties do
discussion.
help, and
Yeah,
then it doesn't, then it didn't help, unfortunately. Which then
yeah,
you needed a miracle at Charlotte, the last round right before the championship four. But
yeah. Basically needed to win and have the other guys that were right there in front of me to finish like the 2 last spots on the track, and I was like, well, you know what? Which I will say this, because of the structure, I shouldn't have been racing anyways, right? I should have been
true,
parked, and I would have accepted that because that's the rule. Fortunately for me, there were so many penalties that would have been so impacting to so many playoff drivers. I think like 3 of them, 4 of them at least, that they said, you know what, this is our only bad race of the season,
yeah,
and we're not going to do that because it hadn't happened to literally anybody the rest of the season, and um, so I'm lucky I even got to go out there and race at Charlotte, but
true,
it was basically like, okay, I got to find a way to try to win this race, and If not, I'm content. Shouldn't have been here anyways. So
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that was the race that should not be named. Pretty much is what it is, and
yeah,
we all try to forget about it. We all try not to bring it up, but it always keeps getting brought up because it was
keeps getting
such.
brought up.
It's because it's such an
Yeah.
iconic race because it was not how top tier had went for that season up until that point.
Yeah.
So it was one of those races where it's hard to not bring up because it was so abnormal
Sure.
for the whole
It's
season.
a learning moment.
Yeah. And we'll see what happens
So,
when top tier goes back there this year.
yeah, I mean, we'll see. We'll see. We'll see if the egos and the frustration is contained. I don't have high hopes. I have hopes for a cleaner race. I think people will learn from that race. I can't name one person last season in that race that didn't make a mistake, whether it be spinning themselves or spinning someone else or uh, dive bombing. Like I was called out by a really good friend of mine on iRacing, been like, man, you kind of frustrated me tonight. You're kind of dive bombing, and that is not my intention. I've never been that guy. It was just lack of knowledge of the track, lack of comfortability, and I mean, it was obvious throughout the whole field that there was a lot of that. So hopefully, it hasn't been just brought up with us, and it's been brought up with all the other teams too. And
Yeah.
um, we'll go out there and have a good race at Martinsville this season. Who knows?
Yeah, exactly. We'll have to wait and see on that one. But speaking of the penalties, they did change it up this season, and then they have changed it up again for top tier. So last year it was you caused one caution, it was a 2 point penalty, two was 5 points, and you couldn't qualify, and three was 10, and then a race ban.
Mm-hmm.
They pretty much had it similar to the same way this year, until all the cautions started happening. And then they've changed it up to where it is still the same point structure, but oh god, do you have it up by chance?
So I don't have it up, but racing in the league, I know it. So um, it's basically the level that would cause you to not be able to qualify uh, is changed to you still qualify to make sure you can make the race, especially if you're not in the top 15. But then if you do, for example, then you get an EOL.
Okay.
So that way you have the opportunity to make the race still. And, because if you're not in the top 15, it's like, all right, well, this is basically just a race ban for the week,
Yeah.
not being able to qualify with the car counts we've had. So it's that. And then I believe level 3, like 3 incidents caused, is still sitting a race.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I have it up right here. Yeah. Oh, that's why it's not. Yep, that's exactly what it is. So
You didn't trust me?
no, it is. I'm just making sure, and it's still the 2, 5, and 10. That's what I was trying to make sure was the actual
Yeah.
points.
Points are the
Yeah.
same.
Okay, I just wanted to double check on that one.
Yeah,
And
it's
then
literally just the qualifying thing.
And then also, isn't what top tier's doing too? Is that where it is each one you get like 2 points, and if you get up to 20, you're done for the season.
Yeah. So that's a new thing, too, which is cool. I kind of like that because 2 points in the grand scheme of things, especially for some of these front runners, might not mean that much. But if you're constantly running people over and making excuses, some people, they're excuse makers. Um, I think there needs to be a line that's like, okay, man, you missed this race and you still got to 20 points. Um, and I don't think that's the type of driver that top tier is looking for, which is really good because that shows everybody they're not messing around. Um, and that's still really, really generous. I'm not saying lower it to like 10 points because, for example, we had the first race that 2 drivers had to sit the next race. And so everyone has a bad race, right? Whether
Yeah.
they like to admit or not, they have or will have a bad race at some point.
Oh yeah.
And at this point, another layer of that kind of goes in is like, if you know you've caused 2, okay, that's 4, that's 5 points towards the 20. Do you want to push the limit and possibly cause a third in this race? And then you're already halfway there to being done for the season. Or do you pick your battles, decide to park it for the night and kind of take the L and not only save yourself a race for the next week, but 5 points potentially, right? Or
Yeah.
even more. I mean, who knows? Like,
But
uh,
I think my thing
yeah,
too is I wouldn't park myself. I would just be more selective. I'd ride around in the back,
yeah,
because again, if people drop out, that's points that you're gonna get. Because the thing is now you got to look at the top 15 of points.
yeah, yeah,
You've already hurt yourself with getting the minus the points already. I'm already -5. So if you can pick up a few more spots, maybe you kind of mitigate it a little bit if you would have just parked yourself. You
yeah.
know,
100%. I think you
but
gotta.
you just got to kind of just be safe and be more cautious.
Yeah, yeah, I think you gotta, obviously at that point maybe tone down the aggressiveness a little bit around other people. Of course, there's self spins that like if you're struggling, hey, sometimes might not matter what you do, you gotta go super slow. You might finish the race 40 laps down, but hey, to your point, you finish the race, you don't know who
Yeah,
else might be knocked out. You know me as far as that goes, finish the race. I
I know.
cannot stand uh when it's just not going someone's way or they get in a wreck and they're like, oh, I'm running in the back, no problem, because I mean, and it's paid off for you
Yeah,
twice now in another league,
yeah,
one massively, right? We're at Bristol, and excuse me, you what, at one point you were 3 laps down
yeah. I was 3 laps
in the
down
race.
and it couldn't get a handle of anything. It was just brutal.
Yeah, struggle bus, right? And
Hmm.
then you stayed out there. uh some things happened, some strategy paid off. You got, I think, a lucky dog that officially got you back on the lead lap, and
Yep,
then in that time you had figured it out
yep,
what you were doing wrong and how to run better, and you finished 6th.
yep.
I mean, awesome. Like, you just never know, you
Yeah,
know.
exactly.
So yeah,
Yeah, and
I
that's
think
definitely for anybody out there is just make sure you keep running to the end. Did I want to park it after that? Oh hell yeah! I was 3 laps down, not having fun. I was pissed. It wasn't great,
yeah,
but I stuck it out, figured it out, like you said, and coming home with a top 10. My best ever
yeah,
finish in a league race too.
yeah, 100%.
So
And back to the topic at hand, I guess I do like the new penalty structure in top tier, or not new, the updated penalty structure in top tier. I think that was a warranted change early on in the season. That was kind of a like, okay, we're not just flipping the script on anybody here, you know, because they didn't even count any of the penalty points in the first 2 races towards the 20,
which is nice.
which is good because like it's a new rule, right?
Yeah,
So I think that was definitely needed for sure.
but also to my point, do you think they should be penalty points should be taken away? Because in our other league on Mondays, if you run a clean race, no cautions, no nothing, no issues, you get a point taken away.
I don't think so. I think that just allows people to kind of play the system a little bit. You've made your mistakes. If they're not intentional or if it's not a sign of like just flat out carelessness or being too aggressive, chances are those penalties won't compound, right? It's not going to get to a point that it causes you a big issue. It's one race or two races, whatever it is, and you move on. I think if there was a system like that in top tier, I think people would just play the system to the point of like, okay, it's been two clean races now. I'm down to 0 points, or whatever it is, and so I'm going to go out there and just who cares, right? I I don't think that would
But we don't see
do
that in our Monday
anything.
League, though. We don't see anybody going out there and get their points back and start back up again or anything.
Yeah, I mean, to
I
be
mean,
fair, the penalty system is a little different. There's not nearly as many penalties simply because it's not bottom line who caused a caution. And I'm not comparing. I like top tier's penalty structure. I also like SSRs. Um, so it's not a comparison of what's better, but it's just different. So in SSR, uh, they review it and it doesn't necessarily matter if there's a caution or not. If it's an incident and they deem that, hey, yeah, you caused this, penalty. If they watch it and deem, hey, you know what, racing incident, um, or this person took the blame, so it's 1 point. Um, that's that's a really really cool thing that I
yeah,
like in SSR because it keeps those uh, egos at bay a bit. I've heard all the top drivers and some bottom drivers in there come over and say, "Hey, that one was on me. Go ahead and give that one to me."
yep,
As opposed to just the blame game of, I'm better than you, so I definitely didn't make a mistake.
yeah. Your previous Wednesday
Um,
night league that you were in.
uh, yeah, some other leagues. Yep.
Yeah,
So
fair.
that's a cool thing about that penalty structure that I like. But no, I don't think points should be taken away. You add up your points and you serve the penalty for it and move on. That's
So
it.
so now it's kind of reel it back in a sense. Now, should there be a point reduction? So I don't want to say necessarily half it, but maybe like the one you only get it to you know I don't know, maybe take off one or something if somebody claims it in top tier or something like that. You know, should there be
I
like a
mean,
kind
yeah,
of like a little reward type of thing for being honest and being like, hey, that was my bad, I messed up. Type of just give it to me. I mean, I think if that were the case, it'd have to be kind of have race control like SSR does, but it'll kind of keep drivers honest. It won't be as bad of a penalty. Yeah, you'll still get penalized. Yeah, you'll still have your three at faults, EOL, ban a race, whatever, but it won't affect you as much points wise.
yeah. I mean, I could see that working. It's hard because right now, when it's reviewed after, whoever the admins deem who was at fault for that uh, gets the penalty, right?
Mm-hmm.
So needs to it would have to be reworked a little bit in order to make complete sense. It wouldn't make
Yeah.
sense, wouldn't work with the structure that's
No.
in place now, just because of the way it's handled. And again, I mean, some will say different. I don't really care. People are going to disagree, but I think overall the penalty system in top tier is fair and it's real. I mean, we had a teammate of ours last week that is an admin and he gave himself a penalty, right?
Yeah.
Rightfully so. Like he looked at it and was like, yeah. And initially, he didn't think that it was caused by him. Um, and so, they take their time and look at things and get it right. And if people don't like it or don't agree with it, then I mean, it is what it is. Rules are in place to be followed.
Yeah.
So.
exactly. And I just kind of want to go to the comments really quick. We have Dylan Canova asking about the claim rule. So both Josh and I race in Monday Night League SSR, and so if a caution comes out, so say me and Josh get together, I got into him, spun him out. Race control is going to go over the radio and be like, anybody claiming that? If I claim it, I'm not going to give a severe point penalty, you know, as if I didn't claim it. If I would have stayed silent, they would have looked back at it and been like, oh no, that was a 44's fault. He took out the 17. Okay, so now it's going to be more severe that I didn't claim it. So it's just kind of giving you a chance to be more honest and everything. It's kind of like what Josh was saying earlier, is that you got the top guys in that league, you got the bottom guys in the league, and no matter what, people are sitting there claiming it. You know, you got the best guys in the league. He's like, yeah, that's my fault. You know,
It creates a
um,
really cool, fun culture.
yeah, it really does. Because I
Um,
mean, there's not anybody that's like, you know, if they do take somebody out, they're like, yeah, that was my bad, dude. Sorry.
yeah,
They apologized over the radio, and there's not a lot of arguing. You know, there is a little bit. You know, everybody's gonna get still heated and stuff, but it's not a lot of bickering that I have seen in other leagues.
yeah. And it's either I think it's just half, right? So penalty is 2.
Yeah.
But if you claim it, then it's 1.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't feel like it's your fault or you feel like it's a racing incident, then you basically gamble that point
Mm-hmm.
and leave it to race control to review after the fact and say, that's on you. That's 2 points. And that's it. Or they come back, hey, racing incident. Now you don't even get 1 point. So I mean, really, it's not a matter of like, creating this what's the right word? This Disney handling everyone with kid gloves type of culture, where it's all like, yeah, no problem, you wrecked me, man. Appreciate the apology. Like, it's not like that. It's just a matter of, it gets people to kind of own up to their mistakes, everybody, or say, hey, racing deal, you know? Um, yeah, so it's cool.
Yeah,
Cool
and
deal.
it's kind of like what Jake just said too. It kind of holds people to accountability, and it diffuses it, which kind of like goes to Josh's point. It's not the Disney, oh yeah, but it diffuses it. Yeah, people are still gonna get upset with each other, but it's not gonna be a huge blow up. Whereas I've seen in
Yep.
other leagues personally and stuff, which is nice, you know. And that's why for me personally, you know, if I was running a league, I would kind of want that where it is the accountability factor of, hey, I got into Josh, I wrecked him, come over the radio, hey, that was my bad, I take claim on that one. Sorry about that, buddy. Cool. He knows I apologize. He knew it was my fault. It is what it is, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, is he still upset that he got spun and taken out? Yeah, of course he is. I mean, who isn't going to be spun, you know, upset and everything? But he knows that, hey, he admitted his mistake. He apologized. He knew he did it. All right.
Yep.
Kind of
The
move on from
times
there.
that I have been involved in a wreck where I felt like it wasn't me, or my mistake, for example, it was all done and settled with a very quick and easy, hey man, my bad, I got loose, or uh, didn't think you were going to slow down, or whatever. Like anything like that is like, you know what, it happens, instead of silence on the radio, or the opposite of, what are you doing, dude? You can't hold the line. You're garbage. You're this, you're that. Like, all right, bro, that excuse me, that doesn't do anything. That's not constructive. That doesn't help.
Mm-mm.
Like, where are we getting at? If it's my fault, race control, or in top tier, the admins will take care of it and they'll give me the penalty that I deserve. But
Yeah.
try to help. The insults, the yelling, the I'm better than you, or you shouldn't be on track, in leagues that don't have iRating caps, for one, license caps for two, that you sign the dotted line for to race in this league, so to speak. Right? And I'm going
Yeah.
off on a bit of a tangent, but to be honest with you, George, it pissed me off tonight. It pissed me off. I've been biting my tongue, and I'm not going to anymore.
Well,
Because
elaborate,
there
because
are
I don't
some.
know exactly what happened. I don't know. I don't get to
Yep,
hear all the
I'm
commentary.
going to fill you in. I'm going to fill you in. There are some top drivers, a ton of them, and there are some not as skilled drivers in top tier. Top tier is a fantastic league. The way that the admins manage it, from the Discord to the on track time to the rule book now, it's very cut and dry. There are penalties, there are issues, right? There's frustration, but coming over the radio continuously because you think you're perfect and because you don't feel like you ever make mistakes is not helpful to anyone. I don't care if you've won 10 races in a row. I don't care if this is your first race on iRacing and you're a pro driver in real life, right? There are coachable moments. Those are moments that can be taught to people. We had people in this podcast, I'm sorry, week 1, a lot of people in this room that were saying, yeah, exactly, we'll help, we're helpful drivers, and anything to help improve people's skill and make people better. You know what I saw of that tonight? Zero. Nothing. That's bullshit. Don't be in the chat and in the Discord, hey, if you need help, if you need this, we'll be here for you. And then be on the track. And when you're not leading a race and things aren't going your way, then start insulting and complaining and calling everybody out that are out there trying to learn. And I said it earlier and I'll say it again. Super speedway racing is not easy for some. I love it. I'm good at it. But if someone came to me and said, why can't you race at Martinsville as good as me? Like, dude, I don't know. I'm just not as good at it as I am super speedways. That doesn't mean that it's easy to do for every single person. That's it.
Yeah.
I'm done. Like, leave the criticizing and the blame on the admins to figure out who caused what caution afterwards, and let the team owners talk to their people and get things straight and try to help them learn. Um, and if you want to jump in and try to help too, then awesome. And if you don't, and you're just going to insult people and make it not fun for people that do this as a hobby, then just keep your damn mouth shut. That's what I got to say. Just shut up about everything.
No, it's a fair point. Definitely
Yep.
is. I mean, you're definitely correct. The top tier has drivers' skill levels from all the way from the top to the bottom. I can see it all with SDK. Everybody's safety rating, I rating, license, all that stuff. You got all the colors in there for all the white licenses. You got safety rating up and down the board. You got I rating up and down the board. And the thing is that guys are out here just having fun, And I mean, I agree with you. Guys are out here having fun. It is what it is. And it kind of trickles in even to the Monday. You told me to shut up when I was on the radio doing my thing. But it's like,
well, little different way, but yeah, ultimately.
But I mean, my thing
But
is getting frustrated with some of these guys. It's like, dude, okay, you guys race probably multiple nights a week. I literally race this one league a week. That's the thing, is that's my only league race that I run. I'm finally starting to pick up officials a little bit more now, thankfully. Just so I can actually get some seat time and track time and stuff. But I'm sorry that I never really had anything prior. I'm not as good as you guys. That's fine. I don't care. I'm out there having fun. I'm out there having fun with my friends.
Yeah.
That's all that matters to me. You don't need to get in the back of me every freaking time you're behind me. Like, bro, come on. And it's the same guys week after week. I'm not saying the team name, but it is the same guys week in, week out.
Let's make it clear to everyone watching. That's on Monday nights.
Yeah, this is Monday Night League. This is a Monday League. This is not Tuesday. Right. This is Monday night. Because I'm actually driving. I'm actually behind the wheel racing. But it is literally the same guys over and over that keep getting into the back of me, especially one driver in specific. But either ways, I feel your pain. I feel the frustration because it is annoying. It's like, okay, they just want to bitch and moan and whatever. It's like, guys, it's a fun league. It's a beginner league. Let's just have freaking fun.
And there's frustration. I get the frustration, man. It sucks
Yeah.
to be wrecked. It sucks to have 10 cautions. It sucks to uh have things not go your way. We've all been there. But like there's there's a point where it just becomes not fun for certain people that regardless what these people want to say, not everyone has all the time in the world to practice. Not everyone is a 4,000, 5,000, 6,000 I rating and a 4 safety rating. And there's ways to teach them. We have all struggled in our team and in some league or some race, right, George?
Oh yeah.
And never has anyone approached someone, a teammate or anybody else, and said, "What are you doing, dude? Like, it's easy. Just go out there and do it. It's easy." We are constructive. We
Mm-hmm.
run team practices. We try to get better.
Yep.
Sometimes we don't because it's not just simple.
It doesn't
You
click.
got people with all sorts of different equipment and setups and racing knowledge and racing skill in general. And I'm going to leave it at this and we'll move on to the next point. If you're going to sign up for a league that has no I rating cap or minimum and no SR cap or minimum and no license minimum, you are taking that on.
Mm-hmm.
It is nobody's choice and nobody's fault but your own. If you're so damn good and you think you're better than everybody else and you don't want to help, go race in a different league. That's it. Done.
That's fair.
Onward. Onward to the next thing. Sorry.
Next thing.
But
Next one is a controversial one, and we kind of saw this Monday, which I was hoping they would do, is clear blacks in racing when it's like the passing under caution, when it's they don't give the person that's a damaged vehicle an EOL. They're half a track length behind. You're trying to get to the pit so you can make your pit stop. You know, what do you do? I understand, yeah, you got to stay behind this and that. But obviously, leagues without race controls, admins, can you clear some of these blacks that are just BS and bogus? Because it sucks, because especially when you're trying to catch up, okay, cool, you're trying to let this person, you're slowing up, and you're basically stopped on the freaking track.
yeah.
It's like, what do you do? They're damaged. Okay, we'll give them an EOL, so the rest of us can carry about our race, make a pit stop, and do what we need to do without losing a lap. I've had that
Well,
happen to me where I've lost a lap because I was waiting for somebody.
yeah. Once again, you're referring to the Monday because you race on Mondays now, right? Like, or just in general, should blacks be cleared?
In general,
Be
because this
cleared.
happened to top tier at Charlotte, I had to wait for another driver forever, which then put us both a lap down and ruined my
Yeah.
race because we didn't get another caution after that.
Sure.
But it kind of goes into Monday as well, where it's like, it's like, come on, like, I know there's damaged cars, I know it sucks, but it's like, come on,
Yeah.
it shouldn't affect the rest of us because it doesn't happen in real life.
Sure. So here's my thoughts. If there's race control, 100%, right? Because those can be analyzed, those can be looked at, they can be done quickly. If there's not race control, which is a lot of leagues, because race control is extremely pricey
Yeah.
if you're going to do third party. And if you're not, ultimately someone is committing every week to being there, and the week they miss is a really tricky deal. Or you're taking someone off the track, right? Which, again, everyone wants to race and have fun. So I feel like with race control, yeah, absolutely, blacks should be cleared to a point, depending on the situation, which can be analyzed. In a league with no race control, no, just black and white. I am a big fan of black and white rules. Is it this or is it that? And I know 2 seasons in now, or a season and a half, whatever,
Quarter.
into top tier, I know like I have since race 1 of the first season, that no blacks are cleared. Everybody is on the same playing field. Everybody knows how to operate it. We've all done officials. We've all done another league race at this point. So I like the fact that this is what it is. It's all done by iRacing. If you don't want a black, don't break the rules. And that's the hardest part is that some of them are legit and should be cleared because it's like, oh man, come on. To your point, like you
Yeah,
just said,
exactly.
right?
Like you're sitting there waiting for a guy to come around. He doesn't come. You're saying stopped on track.
Yeah.
Boom. Then you get taken out. You're like, cool.
Yep. Now this is also a thing, and tell me when I'm telling lies. Guy goes cruising down pit road, and all of a sudden, hey guys, I need a black cleared. For some reason, it gave me speeding on pit road penalty,
So that's his own
and
fault.
he was going 70.
Yeah, that's
Like,
his own deal.
and that's the thing, is people will take advantage when there's no race control and no one can view that. The people want to say, oh well, you gotta trust people, and you gotta. I mean, we're at a point in top tier where people don't trust each other on the track. We can't trust each other with telling them, oh, I need a black cleared because it was bogus for whatever reason. So don't break the rules. Now, honestly, that speeding one, if there was a race control, he wouldn't even asked the
Yeah.
guy. He would have served his penalty because it was ridiculous, right? But no race control. Can I get a black cleared for passing on your yellow? Can I get black cleared for passing the pace car, for speeding? Like, at what point does it end? So
True. But the thing
don't even
is,
open it up.
is okay. Now, say you're avoiding a wreck and you have to go down pit road to avoid it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, NASCAR doesn't give you a penalty for that, but iRacing sure as hell will.
Hey, though I've seen now maybe once, one time, maybe.
This happened to me
So
twice. Like once in
well,
twice in officials.
I guess I wasn't watching
Well, because I
because
was in
I've seen it
officials
once,
by myself.
and so I'm like, you know, black and white. I think until there's another solution, which is ultimately race control, and they'll work on it. They'll figure it out. I'm perfectly fine with the way it is now. If I get a black, hey, you know, it screwed each person at least once at some point during the season, right?
It's true, and
So
that's
I'm
not your
just
reaction when you get a black. But all right.
no, if I get it, I'm usually pissed at myself because it was deserved. Um,
Oh yeah.
ultimately in top tier, I haven't gotten one that I didn't deserve. To be honest with you, there hasn't been
True.
one where I'm like, oh come on, dude, guy stopped on the track, his engine's blown, and I'm, there's right and wrong ways to prevent that, or there's right ways to prevent that too. Guy's got a blown engine. Why are you still sitting on the track, man? We're on the back stretch. Get, tow, and then nobody gets blacks because you're in the pits.
Exactly.
Everything clears.
But not everybody
So,
does
like,
that.
not everyone tells the truth about if their black should be cleared or not.
True.
So, black and white. Until there's race control, easy, simple.
But why can't you just go back and look at it? Like somebody's saying is that you can have it, mark it down, review it, and then if you're caught lying, you're DQ'd and then suspended for next week.
I mean, that could be a lot of extra. That could work. That's probably the best solution I've heard to waving blacks. But imagine if it's like 10 cars, even one time, and now the admins on top of a race review for cautions and incidents, they got to go back and review every black flag that was cleared.
True.
That could get pretty crazy. But yeah, I would say if there were any changes, if any league without race control ran any sort of black flag system, I mean, just like I said it a minute ago, if you sign up for this league knowing the rules, Uh, if admins were to put that rule in place, then they made their bed, they got to lie in it and spend the 2 hours plus probably reviewing races and clearing some blacks and then DQing other people. I don't know. But yeah, that could work.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what kind of some of these other people are saying too, is it happened to them if race number 2, passing under yellow, wreck car waiting for them to get around. Like, that's my biggest thing, is just the wreck car passing under yellow. That's the biggest one for me, at least.
Yeah.
Speeding under pit road, tough shit. Deal with it.
Mm-hmm.
Unless you're avoiding a wreck, but again, that's a little bit of a gray area. It kind of doesn't happen as often.
Yeah.
And then obviously if you jump a start or something, then that's your own fault, that's
Right.
That's
Sure.
kind of a thing. But my big one for clearing is you're waiting for the guy forever to get back around and trying to pit and not lose a lap yourself. So
Mm-hmm.
that's the part that would be me. But I mean, so if you had to make a league and do the penalties and everything like that, how would you do it yourself?
If I had to,
Make a penalty system.
um,
Would you kind of have it where it would be after X amount, you get suspended, you get EOLs, you can't qualify, you get banned for the season, you can't make up any points, or you can? Like, how would you?
yeah,
I mean, it's not really specific, but like, what would your general type of thing would be?
yeah, I've raced in quite a few leagues now, I think.
Yeah, you're more versed than I
And
am.
I would do a mix. Well, I would do mostly top tiers penalty system. And I would add in the SSR claim system. So like one at fault. If you don't claim it and it's your fault, 2 points. If you do claim it, 1 point. Second at fault is worth 3 because it's your second. And if you claim it again, then it's 2. So now your 2 penalties are 3 points instead of 5. I would keep the non-qualifying or not. I'm sorry. I would keep the like sitting out a race deal
For the
because I
last
think
one.
that's a shock for people, right? When it's like, man, I caused a lot of problems
Yep.
and now I can't race next week. And I haven't not been able to race, but I should have been. And that whole week leading up to that, that's kind of how I felt. And I felt really bad that I made those mistakes. Well, so many mistakes at one time in the playoffs, but I also felt really poorly for my the drivers on track that I run with, right? Because although most of them were self spins and no one got tangled, thankfully, uh, there were a couple issues where it did cause damage to other drivers. And, I was like, that's a slap in the face of like, man, that was probably my worst race ever. And not only did it come at a bad time, but it affected several people that know I'm a clean racer and uh, don't usually have this many issues, you know. So yeah,
Yeah.
I think I would definitely keep that up. Race control scoring has ended. I was still in the race session, I guess, from earlier.
Oh, you were?
Yeah, I
Hey.
just got my spotter came across race control scoring has ended. I never closed it. That's funny.
Nice. Sure you weren't out there turning laps?
Wasn't
Oh,
out there turning laps. I looked at one replay that I was curious about, and I got the answer I expected.
fair enough. Well, that was definitely a intense episode, I would say the least. Definitely a lot of passion in that one
For
from
sure.
everybody. I mean, it's been kind of boiling over between, for me Mondays. Obviously you kind of saw that yesterday. Me coming over the mic, I usually don't say a whole hell of a lot ever in any league. but it's kind of getting to the point where it's becoming a lot of frustration. And same with you. You don't really say much either, but it's becoming an issue and starting to become a frustration and stuff. So, I mean, obviously at that point, it's kind of nice to let off a little steam, open that valve up. So,
I think it needed to be said.
yeah,
I mean, I would have let off steam with somebody, either in a private chat or just with a couple people, whatever.
yeah,
But I think it's important to say on a broadcasted event, because there's a lot of really, really talented drivers in top tier, and there's a lot of really nice people in top tier. But I think it's slowly, every single week, just this season, has gotten a little bit more whiny, crybaby like, and kind of accusing and blaming and just not helping. So hopefully, if one or two people heard it and they understand the message, maybe um, that'll kind of drive culture, a positive culture in the league, because I love the league. I like
yeah.
all of the people in it. Um, and it's cool, yeah.
All
So
right.
we'll see.
All right. Sounds good. Now let's try to end on a little bit of a lighter note.
Let's do it.
All right. Dad jokes. That's our
Yep,
last one. That's how we're ending it today.
let's do
Um,
it.
Personally, I was going to tell a joke about sodium, but after today, I'm just like, nah, forget about it.
All right. Is that the joke?
Yeah.
I don't get it, man.
So I was going to tell a joke about sodium, but then I was like, nah. The chemical for sodium is Na. Nah.
Oh shit, bro.
Woo, right over there. That one.
You gotta keep it down here, man. All right. Science class was not my strong suit.
Gotcha. So nothing off the periodic table like this one.
Not to mention, I'm a little bit older than you. So it's been
Barely.
damn near 20 years since I've attended a science class.
You're
If
barely
I
older.
even
You're like,
decided to
what?
go.
3 years older than me?
Oh, yeah, that's true. You're not that young.
I'm like, I'm like, we're not that far apart in age, dude. We're not that far.
That's true. That's true. You're right. You're right. Yeah, but like I said, it's been a while, even if I even decided to attend science class. So, yeah, that one went right over my head.
That's very, very...
I'm gonna remind you in like a year
So I'm
to tell
guessing,
that same joke.
yeah. So I'm guessing it says Royalty Racing Network. I'm pretty sure it's Derek because he hasn't switched accounts. But he's like, I'm older than you, and he got it. So
Yeah, he's supposed to get it.
that's true. He's an engineer. He's smart.
He's an engineer.
Yeah.
I mean, come on.
True. Very true.
You know,
All right. What's
I'm
yours?
not an engineer. Okay, mine. All right. Yeah, we're gonna close like this. In the spirit of Halloween, it's kind of Halloweenish.
Getting close.
Yeah. Why don't skeletons fight each other?
Why?
Because they don't have the guts.
Oh shit. That is actually a pretty good one.
Yeah, that's a good one. Halloween dad joke.
Exactly. Nicely done.
Appreciate it.
Alrighty, guys, but that's gonna do it for us this week. Tune in next week. We do not know exactly what our episode topic is gonna be, but we know it's always gonna be a good one. It's always entertaining. Definitely doing these. Josh, thank you for joining me this week. We'll see who we have next week.
Yeah, glad to be back, man.
Definitely feeling a lot better than I did last week. Last week was not fun, so I'm very happy to be back and look forward to next week's.
Oh, one little thing before you cut it here.
Uh-oh.
Marty better have watched every single second of this podcast from beginning to end.
Yes, he did, because he just was the last comment. Yeah, and he's like, and it's the one where he's like, we got a race. I missed you taking me out.
All right. Good. I'm glad.
So he did watch it all. He did watch it all.
He was giving us the business last week because we didn't have one.
Yep.
Right after the race finished tonight, no podcast. I'm like, bro, I just got done racing. Like,
it's like, dude, give us a second.
But yeah, Marty, cool dude, you got it,
Yep,
just busting balls.
definitely.
Appreciate you watching. Everyone else out there, thanks for watching. And we're going to get the broadcast on the right track.
We really need to, and I am beyond livid with it. Sadly enough, the freaking SDK and all that worked perfectly. We just got to get the connection issue, and that's something we'll discuss later on. So, but everybody else,